Hello and welcome to Who's the Goat, a podcast where we seek to acquire ultimate wheel knowledge so that we may finally answer who's the goat. I'm Arthur and I'm joined by my co-host James
Yeah.
and Marco.
Yo.
So how this works is each episode one of us will research a season of the Formula One World Championship and present it to the other two. And then at the end, we will rank the drivers of the season and that will ultimately influence our overall ranking to find who's the GOAT.
What he
Yeah,
said.
what he said.
This is episode 1 and today we're starting right at the source, which is
1950 season.
1950, correct. 1 point to Marco. Yes, there's also a point system.
Oh, we get points.
Oh,
Let's go.
whoa, wait, there's a
No,
point
there's
system? When
no,
is there a point system?
It's not really. Now, we were thinking of going more in depth to the story of Formula One even before this, but this is niche enough already, so we'll get into it some other time. You'll get some scraps from the team and driver backstories, but it's mainly 1950 onwards what we're going to be doing. And I'll cite my sources. It's Wikipedia, Motorsport Magazine, and StatsF1.com. All right, so 1950. So it is the first Formula One season, but it was actually the fourth season of FIA Formula One motor racing. 1950 is when they introduced the Drivers' Championship. So the championship would be contested over 7 races between the 13th of May and the 3rd of September 1950. All races would be in Europe except for the Indy 500, which would not be run with FIA Formula One regulations, but with AAA National Championship regulations. Points would be awarded as first place, 8 points. Second place, 6 points. Third place, 4 points. Fourth place, 3 points. Fifth place, 2 points. And a fastest lap point. So we start with the British Grand Prix.
Do we now? I never knew.
Brother, shut up. So there is a bit of overhead here.
I've never
as
met
I've
them
got to
both.
sort of introduce the teams and the drivers, and I split this in two, okay? I'll do the ones that arrive at this race, and then I'll do the remaining ones when they show up in Monaco. I've also sort of decided to do a subset of the drivers who will be here because there's just so many fucking guys that it'll take ages. So we'll start with Alfa Romeo, who will be the stars of the season, spoilers. Founded in Italy in 1910, Alfa Romeo have been owned by the Italian state since 1933 because of heavy debt. They were a strong team in the pre-war era, but their real success came in the post-war era. The car they would drive for this season will be created for the 1938 season, the Alfa Romeo 158, called such due to its
Was it 5.8 liter engine or something? And then the one I forgot.
1.5 liter engine
1.5.
and 8 cylinders.
Ah, yeah, okay, that's the 8. That was the 8.
And after many updates after the World War, it went on to become a dominant force in Grand Prix racing in both the 1947 and 1948 Grand Prix seasons. Driving for the Alfa Corsa team this season, we have 3 main drivers, but there'll be a couple of extra ones. So first off, we have Juan Manuel Fangio. Born in Balcarce, Argentina in 1911, Fangio abandoned his studies to become an auto mechanic. Drawn to racing, he debuted in Argentinian stock racing series Turismo Carretera in 1938 and was champion in both 1940 and 41.
What, did they race on horses?
No.
Hmm.
Why would they be racing on horses?
Just
Argentina, man.
just a little. Well, they're known for their horses.
Are they? Anyway.
Yeah.
Racing was suspended in 1942 and Fangio only started racing again in 1946. During the 1948 South American GP, a point-to-point race from Buenos Aires to Caracas, Venezuela, Fangio and his co-driver Daniel Urrutia got into a terrible accident which killed Urrutia. This left Fangio depressed, but he eventually recovered and, sponsored by the Argentinian government, moved to GP racing in Europe, debuting at the 1948 GP, where he retired. But in 1949, he had a lot of success, being tied for most race wins at 5 with Alberto Ascari. Right, next up we have Giuseppe Farina. Born in Turin in 1906, he started hill climb racing when he was a student, crashing and breaking not all of his bones, but crashing and breaking bones in his first race. He then finished his PhD in political science, and in 1934, in the support race of the Czech GP, he got his first victory.
Were a lot of these guys hill climb racing? Were a lot of these guys hill climb racing before F1?
I think it was like a popular thing in Italy.
But in England as well, there was a lot of hill climb racing.
Yeah.
Just
I
because
guess
it's
you didn't
like,
have go-karting, you'd have to go with that.
yeah, because it's pretty cheap and it's quite quick event. So, but even in these sort of early seasons of like British F3, a lot of a lot of the events on the calendar would be hill climb racing. So it's just a cheap and good alternative to Grand Prix racing.
In 1935, Farina started getting into Grand Prix racing proper, and his performances were good enough to get the attention of Ferrari. Racing for them, he would then take his maiden win at the Naples Grand Prix in 1937 and go on to win the Italian Championship the same year. He would then win the championship in 1938 and 39 with Alfa Romeo. In the post-war period, he would win 5 Grand Prix, with 1948 being his most successful year, with 3 wins, including a hat trick in Monaco.
A hat trick being?
All first lap win.
Yes. Finally, we have Luigi Fagioli. Born in Osimo, Italy in 1898, Fagioli was fascinated by the new racing scene that was developing. He had great natural racing instincts, and he started racing in, guess what, Marco?
Hill climb racing.
And sports cars before entering Grand Prix racing in 1926. In 1930, he joined the Maserati team and established himself as a great racer, winning a handful of races. But Fagioli had a hot temper and would often retaliate against drivers who he felt had wronged him, which resulted in many crashes. It was good enough for Mercedes to hire him in 1934. In this time, he would win more races, including the 1935 Monaco Grand Prix. His relationship with Mercedes would get complicated after he disregarded team orders by trying to fight his teammate Rudolf Caracciola on multiple occasions.
Oh, Rudolph! Rudolph!
By the way, it's worth noting at the time, Mercedes and like Auto Union were like heavily sponsored by the Nazi government
Yep.
to be better in like motor racing, and Rudolph was like German as well, so that's why they were like it was a German like race, so they wanted Rudolph to
Good on
win,
him.
and Luigi wasn't having any of it.
Fair enough.
He left to join Auto Union, other Nazi-sponsored team, for 1936, and his rivalry with Caracciola escalated, culminating in a fist fight at the Tripoli Grand Prix. Like, imagine nowadays, like you don't get fist fights in Grand Prix anymore. Health problems forced him to drop out towards the end of the season, but by 1950 his health had improved again and he was racing. For this race, Alfa also brought on 5-time GP winner Reg Farnell.
Reg. Good old Reg.
We move on to the Maserati work team, Officine Altieri Maserati. Who established in 1914 in Italy, they were very successful in pre-war Grand Prix racing, notably winning the Indy 500 twice in 39 and 40.
Oh, that's the first time a non-American team won, no?
Yeah, I think so. For the post-war racing, they brought back their pre-war voiturette, the 4CL, whose success in turn pushed the team to further develop it, and all of these updates would ultimately culminate in their car for this season, the Maserati 4CLT. Maserati would have a couple of drivers, but the main one I'm focusing on is Louis Chiron. So, born in Monte Carlo in 1899, Chiron worked as a dancer after World War I, with his racing career only starting in 1923 after a rich American woman he was friends with bought him a second-hand Bugatti Brescia.
Was he an exotic driver?
Well, he's a gigolo, surely.
It's not specified
Oh,
on the page.
yeah.
It said he was dancing.
And then he must be packing, man.
Big gigolo dancer.
I mean, mate, like, like, how else could you explain a woman buying you a car if you're not a gigolo? Like,
Maybe she wanted that Monegasque citizenship.
maybe.
I'm gonna Google, was Louis Chiron a gigolo?
I'm sorry, but I doubt that's the sort of information you find on the internet as much as I'd love to know.
You might. You never know.
How do you spell gigolo? Is it G?
Gigallo.
Oh my God!
He was?
Wait.
No way.
It's one of the best Bugatti cars named after a gigolo.
Oh, I completely got the spelling wrong. Gigolo. Oh, is that how you spell it? Gigolo. What am I? I'm thinking of.
So is our boy Louis a gigolo?
Let me read a quote from Motorsport magazine. Louis Chiron, one of the greatest racing drivers, was this doesn't matter. So in the post-war period, he then earned a living as a gigolo, a dancing partner at the
See,
Oh
Hotel de
my
Paris in his
god.
hometown for wealthy ladies wanting companions.
see, I told you.
This enabled him to buy a Brescia Bugatti from the Bugatti agency in Nice.
I told.
Wow.
You're welcome, mate.
I have a new goat. Move aside, Prince Hero.
Louis Chiron, biggest whore ever.
Oh, we should have a category biggest four.
Oh, James
Gosh.
Hunt would be there. James
Yeah,
Hunt
no,
would
no.
be
James
up
Hunt would beat him for. Yeah, no. We should have Who's the Whore as well.
there.
He then started racing what in what category?
Let me hill climb maybe.
He started racing hill climbs before moving to Grand Prix racing in 1926. He then became a Bugatti factory driver in 1928. While in parallel, he raced for the private team of a rich industrialist he befriended, Alfred Hoffman.
Was this before or after the Gigolo? No, this is
Yeah.
after the Gigolo then, no?
This is after the Gigolo. But I think to solidify his position as biggest whore, here comes the next part of this story. He would find success in this period, but it would all come crashing down. His partnership with Hoffman would end after he was found having an affair with his wife, Alice, and he also got fired from Bugatti at the end of 1932.
For also sleeping with the wife as boss or different
It
reasons?
wasn't specified what happened with the Bugatti guys, but
Only we can assume.
we can assume. He bounced around between teams for the remainder of the pre-war period and eventually retired from racing in 1938. He came out of retirement when racing resumed after the war, winning 3 Grand Prix.
Do you know what he did during the war? Or?
I think he just chilled. There's a lot of these guys sort of like a bit kind of vanished during the war.
Well, if they were rich enough to do Grand Prix racing, they were probably rich enough to
Yeah.
not do the military.
It would have been 40 by the time of the war.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but also since he's monogased, he probably just
yeah. Final works team I'll get to for the British GP is Talbot Lago. They have a complicated like origin story because like there's something between like a French and like English company and whatever. But from what I understand, this version of the company was founded in France in 1936. They built sports and racing cars and had some success in the pre-war period, including a couple of wins. Their current car, the T26C, finished second at its debut at the 1948 Monaco GP and would go on to score 2 wins in 1949. Its greatest strength came from its more fuel-efficient 4.5 litre six-cylinder engine, which made it so that they didn't have to refuel as often as others would.
They
Yeah.
were private. No, they were private team.
So a lot of drivers will be racing Talbot Lagos this season.
Yeah, when a lot of drivers just racing for themselves and they.
Yeah. Because there's the works team, and then there's like a lot of privateers drive Maseratis and the Talbot Lagos. Basically, those are the two main sort of cars favored by privateers. But one of these, the like main guy I'd like to mention is with Louis Rosier, who would drive throughout the season. Will drive the works Talbot Lago team, but also his own like privateer team. Rosier was born in France in 1905. He started his racing career briefly before the start of World War II, competing in the 1938 24 Hours of Le Mans. Post-war, he would return to sports car racing as well as start GP racing, collecting 3 wins in the post-war period. And now, moving like a bit forward in time, later this year, he will also compete in the 1950 24 Hours of Le Mans in a modified T26C with his son as his teammate.
How old was his son? When he was his teammate?
He was an infant child who was 6 months old.
Well, based on how much he drove, maybe. Jean-Louis Rosier was born in 1925, so he would have been 25.
Okay, that's respect. That's
So
respectable.
Louis Rosier had lost the lead after a long stop in the pits on Sunday, and after letting his son do 2 laps, he jumped back in and single-handedly got the lead back, getting a black eye along the way after hitting an owl.
That's pretty good, honestly. Managed to get
It is.
the lead back. That's like some Sonny Hayes type shit or something.
Oh, we don't understand that reference.
We don't know who's that.
It's
Oh, my bad.
try a more like era appropriate film next time. Wait, I can make this joke work.
Good on, mate.
Charlie Chaplin.
Like the main character from Sunset Boulevard or All About Eve.
Yeah, that joke really worked well, mate. Great timing.
I googled top films in 1950. I don't know what they use. All right. So finally, fucking got me.
That was good. That
Thank
was
you.
good. That was
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, very good. All right. Finally, I'd like to quickly mention two privateer teams because they appear often enough. So first is Écurie Belge of Johnny Clay.
Johnny Clean.
Born in London in 1916, Clay was one of several gentleman drivers who took part in Grand Prix racing post-war. After attending a race in 1947, he made his debut in 1948 at the Grand Prix des Nations as Écurie Belge in a Talbot Lago. You might wonder what he did between 1916 and 48. He had a pretty extensive jazz career, and he worked alongside quite a few people with Wikipedia pages that I don't know, but they might be famous. So if anyone who's like a really big fan of jazz and of Formula One history, uh,
we should
listen.
do a musical careers.
It's true. And even had his own band, the Clay Pigeons. But instead of play pigeons, but instead of CLAY, it's CLAE like his surname. He will also be racing a Talbot Lago T26C. Final privateer team I want to mention is the Enrico Platé team, but only because of the lineup, really. On one side, you had Baron Emmanuel Leo Ludwig Tuolo de Graffenried from Switzerland. So at this point in Switzerland, nobility is more of a status thing and has no real legal privileges, but still, you can still call yourself a baron. And on the other side, you had Birabongse Banundej, commonly known as Prince Bira, who was part of the Thai royal family. I've never seen a lineup that more clearly hates poor people.
A Baron and a Prince. That's a very good bourgeoisie lineup.
Yeah.
I think it's just the essence of 1950s racing. Is just like who's just the richest guy around.
But there's something special between like, oh, these are just like two rich guys, and being like, no, we got the Baron and the
You
Prince.
see, the more you think about it, the more the 1950 lineup is just completely insane. Just like you have a gigolo, you have a prince, a fucking baron, you have like Pedro, a jazz guy. It's like it's nuts, completely nuts.
The gigolo, the jazz man, the prince, the baron. Who will win the championship? It's none of them.
Like, how can people say, "Oh, Fantas to go" when he was racing against these guys? You know? It's like...
But yeah, so both of them would be racing Maserati 4 CLTs. And the remainder of the grid is made up of like Talbot Lago Maseratis and local teams ERA and Alta. Right, so first race of the season, it's the British Grand Prix. Would you like to see the track? Would you like me to send you what the track looks like?
Yes, I'm sure it's going to be very safe and up to racing standards.
Well, it's a map of the circuit. It's not going to be like what it looks like.
What are those white lines in the middle, Arthur?
I don't know. I think it's an airbase, and those might be runways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are runways because it was built in an old military base. I assumed you know that, but yeah, and also probably we can safely presume that the track wasn't very safe given that helmets weren't mandatory. So
I've got a couple more pictures I can send. There's like no barriers to protect from the sort of cars. The most like barrier they got are like bales of hay.
Damn, look at that with the hay bales. That's amazing. Oh, well.
this looks like the absolute pinnacle of safety, honestly, I must say. It's
Yeah, no,
but there's not that many spectators that died, or drivers for that matter, in this season.
Well, look where the stands are. They're quite at a safe distance, no, the stands. I mean, the cars were fast, but not that fast.
Yeah, they're not
and you
particularly
might
fast.
wonder why the British Grand Prix is held on a Saturday.
Why?
It's because the British at the time were very strict about sort of Sunday being for resting. So all sporting events happened on Saturday.
Oh,
Fair
that is
enough.
pretty interesting to know. Oh.
Fair enough.
So qualifying took place on Friday and set the tone for the race tomorrow with the 4 Alfa Romeos on the front row of the grid, with Farina on pole with a 1 minute 50.8, followed by Fagioli, Fangio, and Parnell. Prince Bira was the fastest non-Alfa, 1.8 seconds back, with 2 Talbot cars filling the second row. His teammate, the Graffenried, starts 8th, followed by Rosier in 9th. At local machinery and Chiron steal out the third row. Johnny Jazzman Clay would end up last
No!
in 21st place, 18 seconds off
That's
pole.
oh, you have to be very 18 seconds. That is not very quick.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
It's not very quick.
Right, the race. The 13th of May, 1950, 21 drivers from 9 countries represented at Old Silverstone Airport. At the start of the race, Farina kept his lead, with Fagioli and Fangio in pursuit. Second lap, Nino Farina gets the fastest lap.
I'm sorry to interrupt here, but the fastest lap was 2 tenths faster than the pole position time. Interestingly enough.
So after 5 laps, it was Farina, Fangio, Fagioli, Parnell, and Bira in front of De Graaf and Reed. 10 laps, it was Fagioli ahead by 0.4. 5 laps later, it was Fangio in the lead. And this sort of back and forth went on for like quite a while. Huron retired. De Graaf and Reed had abandoned his Maserati at Abbey Curve. At some point in the race, Parnell hit a hair and dented his car, but car survived. After 30 laps, there was only 17 cars left, and Farina was ahead by 2.8 seconds, followed by Fagioli. Prince Bira retired, his Maserati stopping down the Hangar Straight. Rosier was now 6th. We then get to the round of pit stops, so the Alfa Romeos refueled quite quickly, with Fagioli, Fangio's, and Farina's taking 25 seconds, Parnell's 30 seconds. 50 lap, Farina 1.2 seconds behind Fangio. 5 laps later, 2.6 behind. And the Argentinian closed during the following 5 laps to within 0.6 seconds of Farina. Then he made a mistake,
Oh no.
hitting a straw bale at Stowe. So hitting a hair, fine. Hitting some fucking straw will actually destroy your Alfa Romeo. His engine was damaged, and he retired on lap 62. 5 laps from the end, Fagioli was 41.8 seconds behind Farina, but he managed to close this gap to 2.6 going over the line. Parnell was a well-deserved third. Rosier finished 5th behind fellow Works Talbot teammate Cabantou, 2 laps behind the Alfa Romeos. Clay finished 11th, last of the finishers, 6 laps behind.
6 laps, you said?
Jazzman Clay finished 6 laps behind, yeah.
Fucking hell, man. My God, get it together, man.
And so Farina leads the championship standings, having also scored the fastest lap point on lap 2 with a 1 minute 50.6. And this would also be the first hat trick in F1, with Pole at her fastest lap and a win.
Very convenient.
We move on to our second event, the Monaco Grand Prix. So 3 constructors make their debut this weekend. First up, we have Cooper. So the car would be run by a privateer instead of the works team, but I think it's worth mentioning because it's the first rear-engined car to race in the championship.
Oh.
The car DNFs quite quickly into the race. It's not going to do anything. Next, we have the Simca Gordini team. They will be a bit anonymous this season as well, scoring points only once, and their main driver will be Robert Manzon. And finally, the main event, Ferrari have shown up. So, founded in 1929 by Enzo Ferrari, the Scuderia would begin its life running older and used Alfa Romeo cars provided directly from them. This was like a deal they made with Alfa Romeo to basically, get old cars and have Alfa Romeo involved in racing like that. Their team made their debut at the 1930 Mille Miglia, where all 3 of their Alfa Romeo cars would retire. As Alfa Romeo began facing financial troubles and had to downsize, Ferrari began developing their own engines, specifically a V12 that could be used in both sports cars and GP racing. The resulting engine would commonly be called the Colombo engine.
Would Ferrari be participating in Le Mans or not? Speaking of sports cars.
I guess at the time they would also be participating in Le Mans.
Colombo engine because the guy leading the project
was called something Colombo.
Okay, that makes sense.
Gioacchino Colombo.
Oh yeah, Ferrari would be in Le Mans at this point.
Yeah. So the sport car version would be the 125S, and it would be the first car to use this engine and go on to win the team's first race at the 1947 Grand Prix of Rome. And it was very successful. It won 6 out of 10 races it entered that year. The 125 F1, the Formula One car with the same engine, designed alongside, first race for the 1948 Grand Prix season. But major success would come in 1949, where it would pick up 6 wins, with 4 of them being thanks to Alberto Ascari.
Alberto!
Born in Milan in 1918, Alberto Ascari was son of Antonio Ascari, Grand Prix motor racing star of the 1920s. Despite the death of his father during the 1925 French Grand Prix, Alberto was still passionate about racing, competing initially in motorcycle races. He entered the Mille Miglia in 1940 thanks to Enzo Ferrari, close friend of his dad, who gave him a car.
Wow. So nepotism starts very early on in Formula One racing. That's good. That's good to know.
He's a bit of a nepo baby, but he's not only a nepo baby. Here's the shady stuff he did. During the war, he started a transport business supplying fuel to Army Depot in North Africa with fellow racer Luigi Villoresi. Their service to the fascist regime avoided them having to join the
All of
army.
these.
And listeners, do not Google what Italy was doing in North Africa at the start of the 40s.
Hey man, listen, it's not their fault. They had to, one way or another, contribute.
Oh, I was just
You know,
following
how are you
orders.
gonna make it? How are you gonna get that funding for Grand Prix racing? You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do they have blood on their hands?
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, the one thing we can agree on, they got massive blood on their hands.
You would too if it meant a shot at F1.
Emmett Walker.
After the end of the war, Ascari started racing again with Villoresi as his teammate. He was particularly successful in the new 1946 era of regulations, with his first win coming in 1948 and getting 5 wins in the 1949 season. During that said season, him and Villoresi joined Ferrari, getting 3 wins with them. Speaking of Villoresi, born in Milan in 1909, Villoresi came from a wealthy family and could afford to buy a car and compete in local races.
Despite being from a wealthy family, he still chose to commit war crimes in North Africa.
He had some success in the early years of his career, racing alongside his older brother, winning the Italian championship in the 110cc sports car class. Villoresi would eventually join Maserati in 1938 and would win races in 1939, but his brother would die while testing for Alfa Romeo. After the war, he would return to racing with Maserati and be very successful, winning 14 races from 1946 to 1949, even being the driver with most wins in 47 and 48. So Ferrari got a good lineup of drivers. Right. Moving on to the Monaco Grand Prix.
Wow, a street circuit with those sized cars must have been exciting. Surely, keeping smaller cars would give for more exciting racing and overtakes.
Marco, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. This is 1950,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know what any of that means. So the Alfa Romeos are back with Fangio, Fagioli, and Farina. Many drivers are still waiting for their cars to arrive. Chiron's Maserati is somewhere in Italy, and the Simca Gordini of Manzon, sent by train transport, but mislaid somewhere in Nice. The Maseratis of Bira, the Grafenried are somewhere. Villoresi and Ascari are still at the GP of Luxembourg. So basically, there's a lot of unhappy people just sort of waiting for their cars. Despite this, qualifying took place over 2 days, with the fastest 5 on Thursday, forming the first 2 rows of the grid, which would alternate 3 and 2 cars. And it's Fangio who's on pole with a 1 minute 50 second in front of Farina and Gonzalez in a Maserati. Villoresi would be fastest on Saturday with a 152.3, which would have been good enough for P2. His teammate would line up alongside him in P7, with Chiron filling out the 3rd row. Rosier would be only the 2nd fastest Talbot Lago in P10, while de Grafenried in P12 outqualifies Prince Bira down in 15. Clay would be last of the qualifiers again in P18, but he'd start with 3 non-qualifiers behind him. Anyway, championship contender Nino Farina in the Alfa was on pole, got to an early lead, but got passed a few corners later by Fangio behind him. Villoresi in the Ferrari got a fantastic start, jumping from 6th to 3rd until Tabac corner. Farina got caught out by what? Point-paying question here, boys.
Hay bale.
Stray hay bale.
Stray hay bale, and James, you said a stray hay bale as well?
Yeah.
Wait, I want to change my answer.
All right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, go for it.
I'm going to say a lamppost.
Not a lamppost. A wave from the harbour which flooded the track.
What?
There wasn't the. He didn't get actually distracted by the wave, but a wave had got water on the track, and so Farina spins out, hits the stairs with his wheels, because there was water on the track.
How did they not prepare for that? Oh well.
I don't know. All right, I'm going to read this out now. Fagioli tries to squeeze through, skids and hits the fuel tank of Farina's car, while his own tank also leaks. 2 giant jets of petrol inundate Tabac corner. Gonzalez arrives, hits the 2 cars, shoves both aside. His suspension is half broken and another leaking petrol tank. But he continues.
Oh, damn.
Through this forcefully created opening, squeeze, Chirons and Ascari press on. Rosier was stopped by a marshal just before hitting Fagioli's Alfa again. However, Manzon sees too late the idle Talbot and hits head-on, followed by de Grafenried putting Manzon in the back. The Tabac corner looked like an inferno, people shoving and pushing wrecks away to create a small opening for the upcoming cars. There were no safety cars at the time, so when Fangio got to Tabac again on the second lap, he had to nudge other cars out of the way with his car to get through the blockage. Behind him, Bira and the Maserati stopped briefly to berate the marshals for not clearing the pitch faster. None of them got seriously injured, but Jose Frolian Gonzalez, who damaged his Maserati in the pileup and was subsequently running second, was leaking petrol from his old open filler cap. And at some point, he caught sparks from another car and caught on fire. And he had to stop and roll on the floor to stop the fire. He survived, but he was really burned.
And this was on lap 1, wasn't it? All of this on lap 1.
Laps 1, 2, basically. 8 out of the 19 drivers crashed and retired. So Villarezi was showing fantastic speed, setting the fastest lap and was up to second, but then stalled his car and was demoted to last place. Ascari in the Ferrari was now a solid second place. Villarezi then proceeded to climb through the field, reaching third place by lap 14 and catching up to Ascari by lap 31. However, Ascari is notoriously difficult to overtake, and he was only able to get in front of Ascari during a pit stop, since his pit stop was a few seconds shorter. Villarezi then gave chase to Fangio, who was 30 seconds down the road and within reach. However, his fantastic run during the race was cut short when Villarezi was forced to retire with a broken rear axle. A lap ahead of the rest of the field, Fangio cruised for the remaining lap, even taking an extra pit stop before a comfortable win. Behind him, Ascari finished second, and local driver and gigolo Luis Viron made it to third. Behind him were Raymond Summer and Prince Bira in the final points-paying positions. Clay was, again, last of the finishers, but he did finish, because in this race, so many people DNF'd, so...
If I'm not mistaken as well, Luis Chiron, he would have been the oldest podium finisher at 50 years, 9 months and 18 days of age.
Good to know. So Farina, still P1, but now tied with Fangio, who scores his first points. Jolie is demoted, not scoring any points this race, sharing third with Ascari. Chiron scores his first points and goes up to third, fifth with Parnell. And ninth place, we have Rosie and Bira with 2 points, Bira scoring his first points.
Also, may I add another interesting coincidence, is that for now, the people that finished in third were from the country where the Grand Prix was held.
Good fun factoid. We move on to race 3.
The Indy 500.
Here's a short spoiler. None of the European guys who I mentioned before or will mention after this showed up to this, and none of the American guys who are in this will show up to any European event. Farina tried to get in, but the cars never arrived. So this event didn't follow Formula One rules. It followed AAA regulations.
Okay, this is crazy.
So Saturday, May 13th, first of 6 days for time trials, Wolf Faulkner won the pole position with a record run of 134.34 miles per hour. A bunch of other days happened. Basically, Faulkner starts first, second row, fifth, a guy called Parsons, maybe be relevant. The race was originally scheduled for 200 laps, 500 miles, but was stopped after 138 laps due to rain. Parsons took the lead quickly, led a bunch of laps and won, which means that Parsons' P1 and fastest lap moves him to first place alongside Farina and Fangio. Move on to the fourth race championship, the Swiss Grand Prix.
Let's go.
Oh,
Held in Bremgarten, Bern, Switzerland. It's awesome that there's a Swiss Grand Prix. I hope it keeps going for many years so that we may attend it every year.
You know what? I share your same sentiment. Surely there won't be a motor racing accident in another country, which then
makes the Swiss government say no more racing forever.
yeah, only go-karts.
spoiler for a spoiler for 32 years in the future, but there is a Swiss Grand Prix.
What the fuck is 32 years in the future mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? I mean,
Well, in
James,
1982,
please, could you
there's
stop?
going to be
James,
a
could you
Grand
stop
Prix called...
hallucinating for 2 seconds and focus? I don't know what any of what you said means.
My bad.
All right, and small spoilers for the race. As described, the Swiss Grand Prix promised to be a first-class affair, but it turned out to be another demonstration of how to go motor racing by Alfa Romeo. So the fourth round of the championship took place just 3 weeks after the series began at Silverstone, with Monaco and Indianapolis having taken place in consecutive weekends.
this track layout sucks, by the way. It's quite boring.
Does it?
Well, it's just because of a big circle.
Yeah, basically.
Is it a bit?
No, but
Oh, that sucks. Well, it's not a big circle. It's like a squiggly
it goes for
circle.
it goes for like some forest as well. So
I don't care about
Oh,
no
that's sick.
forest.
We should have a trip to the
also,
Swiss Grand
if
Prix
you
to
guys
play
want to know
out.
a fun fact,
Go for it.
the track record for this guy for this track is held by a Nazi.
Oh,
Oh no. It feels like they should reopen the track just so that someone scores a better time. So Alfa Romeo are back with Farina, Fangio, and Fagioli. Villarese and Ascari would drive two of the four 125s entered by Ferrari. Maserati are back with Chiron and his teammate Roll. Enrico Plate are present with their two drivers. Rosier would be racing for Talbot Lago's works team again in the upgraded T26C DA. And Clay is present again with his own team. Qualifying. At the end of qualifying, it's another Alfa Romeo front row lockout with Fangio on pole with a 2-minute 42.1, followed by Farina and Fagioli, while the duo of Villarese and Ascari would fill out the second row. Prince Biro would qualify 8th ahead of his teammate in 11th, and Johnny Clay would manage to not qualify last in 14th, in front of Chiron in
What
16th.
a lad!
by the way, can I just say something about Prince Bira for a second?
Yes?
I
Will it be
think
racist?
no. I think more respect should be put on this guy's name. He was a sailor and a pilot, and he participated at 4 editions of the Summer Olympics.
Oh.
This guy was multitasking through life.
He was a prince, so he could just do whatever he wanted without having to work. So it's pretty neat life hack.
James, if you were a prince, would you do all of this?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I'm saying it's just a neat life hack. Being born into wealth.
Imagine, for example, Marco, you were hypothetically son of a billionaire who owned a Formula One team, and then you could just race in Formula One however long you felt like it. Because,
That would be great. That would be great.
but anyway, and this is from the Motorsport article because they had a race report for this one. There were also a number of uncompetitive Talbot Lago and Maseratis as usual.
Yeah, they're all here at the bottom of the pile.
A British newspaper criticizing their own British cars? That seems a bit
No,
weird.
Maseratis? No, Talbot Lagos and Maseratis.
Yeah, Maserati is English.
Are they?
Oh no, wait, what am I saying?
What are you
No,
saying?
Maserati is Italian, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm hallucinating. Man.
The article reads, the opening lap was the most interesting. For Ascari had his car between Farina and Fagioli, thus breaking up the Alpha 1-2-3, Villarese just behind. After 3 laps, Ascari came into the pits to retire, and before a quarter of the race was over, Villarese also retired. The race developed into a demonstration by the Alphas. And this is the article again. The Talbots were obviously not fast enough to make up for their lack of refueling, and Bira could only hope to keep in fourth place, while naturally Summer's car was not of GP class. The race ran its distance, the Alphas pit stop ran nicely to order, and after all the teams had refueled, the order was Farina, Fangio, and Fagioli, with Rose behind them, Bira having stopped for minor adjustments. 7 laps from the end, there was a consternation in the Alpha camp when Fangio repeated his silver efforts and retired with mechanical trouble. In the end, Farina won the race, followed by Fagioli and Rosier, who had started 10th, so, good performance. Bira and Bonetta were the remaining 2-point scorers, with De Graaf and Reed just missing out in P6. In the race, Huron had overtaken Clay, finishing 9th and 10th respectively. Only 11 drivers finished, so Clay not last, but not far off.
Hey, come on! It's baby steps. Baby steps. It's he's getting up there. He's getting up there.
He's getting up there.
By the way, fastest lap was quicker than pole position again.
That's weird. Yeah, and by a lot as
Quite weird.
No, I can't find the fastest lap right now, but
Pole position 2:42.1, fastest lap 2:41.6.
Huh.
So 7 tenths.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, and final sentence of the article was, another Grand Prix was over, and frankly, as a race, it was not interesting. Though as an exhibition of Alfa Romeo supremacy, even after a year's retirement, it was pleasant to watch. Update to the drivers' standings. In first place, we have Farina with 18 points. Second place, shooting up from 4th, Fagioli with 12 points. Anjo and Parsons on 9 points. Rosier shoots up from P13 to P5 with 6 points. Belgian Grand Prix. Only 14 cars would arrive at the circuit, Alfa Romeo are back with their usual lineup, while Ferrari is down to their core two drivers. Rosier is one of 3 factory Talbot Lager racers, and Clay is also present.
But he missed his home Grand Prix. Are you insane, Arthur? What?
The Baron and the Prince are absent. Alfa Romeo would secure another front row lockout with Farina and Fangio, setting the same fastest time of 4:37. Farina would be given pole, and Fagioli would complete the front row. Behind them, Villoresi in fourth, while Ascari would find himself in seventh, ahead of Rosier in eighth. Clay would line up last on the grid, having set no time.
Damn.
The race would be a similar story. The Alfa went off on their own, and Sommer battled with the 2 Ferraris. When the Alfa stopped for fuel, Sommer found himself in the unlikely position of being race leader. Unfortunately, his engine blew up. Ascari took the lead, but then he had to stop for fuel, which meant the Alfas went ahead again. Fangio leading Farina and Fagioli. Farina suffered transmission trouble in the closing laps and dropped to fourth behind the best surviving Talbot Lago being driven by Rosier. The final finishing order would be Fangio, Fagioli, Rosier, Farina, and Ascari. Villoresi would finish sixth and Clay eighth, not last.
It's so close to the points, though. Shame.
The fastest lap win to Farina.
And once again, fastest lap, quicker than pole position. Again, there has to be some sort of reasoning for this. Maybe because like the ground gets rubbed in. It's a different type of track.
Maybe. Race 6. 22 cars have entered the event, 4 of which did not start the race. The 2 Scuderia Ferrari entries of Villoresi and Alberto Ascari withdrew in practice. So it looks like going in it's going to be another slam dunk for Alfa Romeo. Qualifying, Farina and Fangio were fastest as usual, with Fagioli unable to match them. With Ferrari not starting their 3-litre cars, the main opposition was to come from the Talbots. However, they suffered from radiator problems and overheated, allowing Fangio and Fagioli to lead home another Alfa demonstration run. Whilst Farina succumbed to fuel pump troubles, there was not a lot of information for this race. Drivers' Championship standings, there's some dramatic things happening. Fangio goes from third to first. Fagioli stays in second. Farina slips down to third. P1.
Oh.
Yeah, not a lot of information on this race. We get to the final race of the season, the Italian Grand Prix. So after Juan Manuel Fangio's win at the French Grand Prix, Fangio has obtained 26 points, 2 ahead of teammate Luigi Fagioli and 4 ahead of his other teammate Farina. Having finished 4 times in the points, all second places, Fagioli would only be able to drop 6 points or not to gain at all. While Fangio and Farina had only finished 3 times. All 3 of Fangio's finishes were wins. Just remember, only your 4 best results count to the championship.
Yeah, true. So you can get scammed out of points.
You can get scammed out of points. So to win the championship, Fangio had to win or come second to guarantee the title. Fagioli win the race with the fastest lap, with Farina third or lower, and Fangio not to score any points. Farina win with the fastest lap, and Fangio third or lower. Win without the fastest lap, and Fangio fourth or lower. Second with fastest lap, and Fangio fifth or lower without the fastest lap. Third with fastest lap, and Fangio not to score. So all 3 can still get it. Ferrari, for their home race, decided to pull out a new unsupercharged 4.5-litre engine to try and end the Alfa Romeo dominance. Alfa Romeo also have an upgraded Alfa Romeo now, the 159.
Only Fangio and Farina have the 598. Fagioli still stuck with the 158. There's so many Talbot Lagos, man. I tried to find the price of a Talbot Lago, but I couldn't find in 1950.
Buy one yourself to go shopping. Qualifying Ascari. So with Ascari, he has got the brand new Ferrari, and he managed to get P2, which was just behind Fangio's Alfa Romeo. The first row is completed by Farina and Sanesi in Alfa Romeos. Fagioli is 5th. So Fangio's on pole, and basically he looks the favourite to become world champion. In his memoir, he sort of insinuates that the Italians had favoured Farina, with his Alfa being sort of more powerful. They made his engine more powerful in the factory. On the 24th lap, Fangio is third and is forced to retire because of a gearbox issue. He then commandeers the car of Taruffi. They get to their first pit stop, and Farina keeps his lead with 1 minute and 2 seconds to Fagioli. but on the 34th lap, Fangio retires again. This is his championship hopes over, really. Unless the other two retire, it ain't happening. Farina led to the finish from Ascari, who is now in teammate Dorofino Serafini's Ferrari 375, with Luigi Fagioli finishing third in his Alfa Romeo 158. Rosier finished fourth in his Talbot Lago, with Philippe Issantelin fifth in his Talbot Lago. Itasla would become the oldest driver to ever score a World Championship point with that finish. The Grafenried sixth. Only 7 cars finished out of 27 starters, with Farina's win and Fangio's failure to score and Fagioli's third place points removed as his worst scoring finish.
I think you'd be mistaken if Fangio did score the fastest lap point.
It's true, he did
Despite
score the
retiring.
fastest lap. I did have that written down. Fagioli slips down from second to third. Fangio slips from first to second, which means the winner is Farina with 30 points. So that's my report on the 1950 season. It wasn't very good.
Well.
We move on now. It's the ranking section of the show. The show. Let's say show. So what I've done here is I've decided how we should rank is to include drivers who participate in at least half the events. I feel like you've seen them enough. You can rank them. You know.
You're not including the guys from Indy?
I am excluding them technically. Yes. So who's the GOAT in 1950?
The GOAT is, and I just feel it's obvious. It's my sweet little Pookie Prince Beaver.
Prince Beaver. No, I think he's not the GOAT of this season. I think Luigi Fagioli deserves an honest shout because his unmatched consistency throughout the season. You know,
Yeah,
he was always slower than his teammates, but he was just right there every time on them.
That's the thing.
And what did he finish? Third in the standings. So
Third in the standings.
and he's the only one that got
He would have
left.
been second without these sort of best four results.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, who are we putting number one? Who's the GOAT of this season?
I think it's Farina. You know,
It's
like Fangio, even with stealing other teammates' car, he couldn't crack it. So
yeah,
I think for me it's old Nino.
I agree. It's the Reno. Now, who are we putting in second place? Me personally, I feel like Fangio.
I'd go with Fagioli.
Fangio had too many mistakes, to be honest.
Too many mistakes. Took teammates' cars all the time, and
all the time. It was like one.
Yeah, I think it's too many times. It's one too many times, really.
Yeah, but also I gotta say,
you can't call yourself the GOAT.
Yeah, I gotta say, Fangio. So he had one DNF because his car crashed because he hit a bale of hay, and then he had an engine failure, and then he DNF'd twice because of mechanical issues in Monza, and then all of his other results were victories. So that's also like that's an honest third place as well. Like he's the youngest of the three as well.
Yep. Agreed.
We agree on this.
I think we solidly agree on Farina. You know, it's
Yeah.
So he's just that guy.
Anyone else you'd like to rank in the sort of who's the GOAT ranking?
But, I want to give I don't want to rank him, but Rosier also, you know,
Yeah.
bit of a shout because he was the only one in non-Ferrari or Alpha
I was going to shout
machinery,
Rosier,
and he got 2 podiums. So
let me just list out the run he had. So except for Monaco, where he got out in the lap 1 accident, and in France, where he DNF'd and then took someone else's car and finished equal to where he qualified. Otherwise, he always improved to the points. 4-point finishes, 2 podiums in Talbot Lagos, which are like they didn't have to pit stop because they had enough fuel. But you know, still Ferrari had the money, Alfa had the technology. Honestly, I'd rank him as a solid 4th place for like performances of the season.
I put him third even. No, I think
Third, not Fangio?
maybe.
All right. Well, I approve of this because I feel like let's get the Argentinians against us right away.
No, that sounds good.
6th place, I placed Prince Beaver. So decent racer with 2-point finishes in like an okay car. Maybe you need to hear what's afterwards to sort of understand. But
Okay.
seventh, Louis Chiron. Seventh place, Louis Chiron. Podium, but fewer points than Vera in the sort of same Maserati. So I decided he'd be lower. Next up, there's like 3 French guys I didn't mention throughout the whole thing because there's too many people and I have to cut some. So, but all 3 of these I think showed up for 4, but I decided some people.
Yeah, but there's
they'd
just so
be
many
cut.
people
So
in these
Yves
initial
Giraud
races.
Cabontou. So points in the Talbot. All of these scored the same number of points, by the way. So a P4 in a Talbot Lago, 8th place. Raymond Sommer, same number of points, so a 4th place, but in a Ferrari. So I thought that was slightly worse. And then 10th place, Philippe Etincelant, where he got points in a Talbot Lago, but he was a 5th place and he got like some points from a shared drive. So I thought he'd be lower. Then 11th place, Luigi Villoresi, outqualified Ascari 3-1, but couldn't convert. He scored, I think, 0 points in the end. Also War Criminal, but like in the ranking we're not specifically counting like War Criminal or not, because I feel
also War Criminal. So
we'll do who's the War Criminal then as the second round. Yeah, Villoresi 0 points. So he qualifies well, but
I think we should. I think we should.
12th place, Tuolo de Graffenried, beaten by his teammate basically every time during the race, and only got qualified once in Monaco, I think. Could you guess who I put in last place in 13th? It's our boy Johnny Jasmine Clay. Worst qualifier most of the time, scored no points, but he showed up to every single race except for the Indy 500, which I really like. Genuinely, there's
the man was dedicated to his craft. He wasn't very good at it, but
so people who showed up to every event, excluding Indy 500, there's Farina Fangio, Fagioli, Rosier. Etincelant, he showed up to everything. Yeah, but like I'm looking at, and then Johnny Claes. I think he's one of 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like one of 6 drivers to have shown up to every event, which
I would put Villoresi in front of Philippe.
You'd put Villoresi, but he scored no points, whereas Philippe did.
Yeah, but points in a shared drive. Like, come on. You didn't run your own.
But
he's a
he
War
got
Criminal,
5th place
so
on his own once.
Yeah, but
in a Talbot Lago.
Qualifying Ascari, I feel like that's more of an achievement.
James, you get the final vote. Final vote. Should Luigi Villoresi be above Etincelant or not?
Marco, we do not collaborate with War Criminals.
Right, honorable mention for the season. Gentlemen, make your case. I say Johnny Parsons because he won on debut.
I mean, calling that a debut is a piss take. I'm sorry. Gonzalez for not dying.
Gonzalez for not dying. That's your honorable mention, and why?
I find it funny that he got driven to by Fangio all the way to Bologna.
Now, if I'm a dick, I could take that anecdote out of the episode, and now you just look like you're sort of you don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I was also gonna go for Johnny Parsons, or I was just gonna say the Monaco Grand Prix.
The organisers of the Monaco Grand Prix
management.
1950 Monaco Grand Prix Masters. That's your honor.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good honor. I'll take that. That's a pretty good honorable mention.
Like you've got.
Yes.
No, but I accept that. That's
And what's your reasoning? So, because we each gave a reason. Why are you nominating the 1950 Monaco GP?
Because they fucked it up.
I like
because they fucked it. I mean, they didn't fuck it. They just handled it
a very good job. But I like that we can each have an honorable mention.
Piss poorly.
Johnny Parsons won on debut. Jose Frolian Gonzalez for not dying. 1950 Monaco GP Marshals. They fucked it.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's not even that they fucked it. It's that they didn't do anything.
They weren't prepared.
Well, they cleared out the cars at some point, so. Right, and we close out with 2 categories. There used to be 1, but now we've added a second one. So I think we'll agree. Biggest fraud.
Reg Parnell.
Biggest whore.
Biggest whore. Louis Chiron. Yeah.
Louis Chiron.
Gigolo of the year.
Gigolo and slept with his bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Very good. So that was the 1950 season. Thank you very much for listening, and join us next time for Marco and his 1951 report. Report.
Excited to
Oh
see
yeah,
it.
don't worry.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening. Bye.
Back off!